Hello, my name is Luke, and I am one of the counselors here at Focus on the Family Canada. It's a role that I take seriously and one that I honestly love. But I have other roles too, ones that I take even more seriously and hold even closer to my heart. And one of those roles is, I'm a dad. And I, like any healthy parent, want my children to be healthy physically, spiritually, and emotionally. Like you, I want my kids to thrive. Now, I know this is a bit of a cliche, but you've probably heard the old proverb, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. And that's what I want to explore today. How can we, as parents, influence our children to thrive right from the get-go? And so this series is called Creating Healthy Beginnings for Young Children. The quality of those formative years can make it more likely that our children will thrive in their journeys instead of languishing. The question I hope to answer, in part, is how can one develop a flourishing and secure child? So you'll notice that I said help develop and not build outright in isolation, because we must understand the big picture. Yeah, you're a massive influence in your child's life, but you aren't the only one. No matter what we do or don't do, sometimes things just go wrong due to the incomprehensible variability in each person and each situation. Think of a 7-year-old kid during recess on the playground at school. The kids pick teams, going back and forth until your kid is the only one left. What's a kid going to do with that situation emotionally? Well, they'll interpret it with the mind of a 7-year-old, and since you're not a mind reader, you can't stop them from interpreting it as a catastrophe and concluding, I'm the worst player here. I'm the one that no one wanted. So we can't protect our kids from everything. This is a wounding world, but we can control how we interact with them. So this is not meant to be an exercise of guilt. Maybe your kids are already preteens or teens, or maybe they're even young adults and are in the throes of making, in your eyes, some pretty bad decisions. Maybe you think it's too late because of all of this. And maybe you take on a lot of blame. But remember that you're not the only influence. And even if you think you know undoubtedly that you made some big mistakes as a parent, this series can still be for you. Because overall, all the principles I'm going to explore in this series remain relevant at every stage in your parenting journey. While it is, of course, ideal to start at the beginning, we can always adjust how we engage with our kids, regardless of their age or ours, whatever is going on in your lives. It's truly never too late. So alluding back to that old proverb of prevention and cure, we can still use these principles as a cure. But I am going to focus on children in their earliest stages of development. So one last thing, as we're going through this video series, if you find that a lot of this doesn't make sense to you, or you find yourself resisting it in some capacity, or maybe it even touches on some wounds from your own childhood, just make sure that you spend some time looking at yourself first. I understand that parenting is hard. For me, I am sometimes amazed by my own lack of capacity to deal with my kids. When I'm tired and stressed and stretched thin, sometimes I feel overwhelmed by even something as simple as my oldest daughter asking me a question. Like I'll be asking my wife a question and my 5-year-old daughter will start going, "What? What did you say, Daddy?" And she's not quiet. And suddenly I can't hear myself think or my wife, and suddenly I'm considering an early bedtime for everyone. It is draining. But we need to make sure that we are healthy ourselves before we can hope to engage with our kids in healthy ways. So if you are looking at the dynamic between you and your spouse or between you and your children, and you are finding that you aren't responding well, and maybe it feels like you don't even have the current capacity to respond well, then it may be worth fighting tooth and nail for some form of care for yourself. Because your day will draw emotional energy from you, whether you are coming home from work or you're at home with the kids. You need to find ways of refilling your cup. Now, I'm not a perfect parent, which I hope is something that the many examples that I give will make abundantly clear, but I am very good at self-care, and so is my wife. For me, I ensure that I take time to engage in activities that are what I would call life-giving. Sometimes it involves my wife. We love board games, and we have a lot of overlapping interests that refresh us, that are very accessible each evening. It gets us playing together and doing something that is just for us, apart from the kids. And it doesn't require us to leave the house or organize childcare. It's just right there on the shelf. But we also have our own things. I have some other fairly involved hobbies that are accessible. Some I engage with other people in, and some I can do by myself. My wife's in a band, for example. She plays electric guitar and she shreds. The point is, our lives are bigger than counselor or dad or stay-at-home mom. But those are just a few examples of what it looks like to care for ourselves. So when looking at your own self-care, just know that our counseling lines are ready to take your call. And after you connect with us, we can get you connected to a Christian counselor in your area or online. So think about it. We can help you flesh some of this out in your own unique situation. Undoubtedly, there will be some particular factors in your own world that I can't touch on here. That's normal. I've had to deal with my own obstacles. But you don't have to take that journey to well-being alone. So now that I've gotten some housekeeping matters out of the way, let's dive in. Our next video will start laying the groundwork for some basic concepts. I'm going to center a large portion of this series around the concept of attachment and how pursuing connection with our children is the best way to give them a healthy beginning. So if you want to explore more about the concept of attachment, there is a litany of authors, some of them Christian, that explore the nuance and strategies behind fostering attachment in a much deeper way than I ever could in a series like this. So take a look at your local library and see what they have related to attachment.